John, people listen to us for nonsense, and we give it to them in spades. Nonsense, nonsense, nonsense. Some would even say, on our best days, malarkey. Braves, defending champs. Boy, it sure would be a shame if there was no season next year and we were just still the defending champs.
Also, this guy that got hit, how old was he?
46.
What a loser, just sissy man. You just got punched in the face by a 90-year-old man? Come on, dude.
I'll bet Doc is like the Sinbad of Ames, Iowa.
Oh,
because people, I didn't realize, I thought it was just a Doc thing with the corn jokes. Iowa people love corn jokes.
Well, you know what they say, knee high by July, baby.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that's killing in the Midwest right now. I'm sure when that hits their ears, they're like, that Doc, he gets us.
Doc, what do I love more than anything? That's right, an angry football team.
I prefer to think of Warsaw as like a battle of who's the best saw, right? So you have like a sawzall, you have a skill saw, you have a hacksaw, handsaw. It's just a battle of saws to the death.
Welcome to the Spaghetti Junction Boys podcast, coming to you from beautiful Atlanta, Georgia. I am your host, as always, Q, joined here by Ben Ralston. Before we get things started, we want to thank our friends over at Manscaped. Support for the Spaghetti Junction Boys podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code SJBAtlanta at manscaped.com. If my math's correct, that's about 8 million balls. It's time to take care of yourself. So go to manscaped.com, get 20% off and free shipping with the code SJBAtlanta at manscaped.com. So yesterday, we're recording this on a Wednesday, and yesterday, November 8th, was Election Day. Now, we're obviously not getting into the races of Election Day. We are getting into something that's far more compelling. And that is the hubris of the NBA to decide they weren't going to play yesterday because of Election Day. And the thought of that for me is essentially just, if you're not going to go vote because you've got to watch Kings Jazz on a Tuesday, November night, you probably aren't huge into politics to begin with. I mean, I don't know if what they're doing is saying, oh, you should follow the election results. I mean, you can do that on your phone. I don't think Magic Pacers is going to keep me from finding out who wins if it really does. I'll tell you, the only time I would just, if I cared anything about politics, I would stay completely just dark from it because the NBA was going on, would be if I was at a sportsbook gambling on it. But if I'm at a sportsbook, like with life-changing money on the line on November 8th, just gambling on Bucks Pistons, I'll tell you something else. You know what else I'm gambling on? Who's going to win a Senate race? Am I wrong on this?
Yeah, I think it, like many things, you need to let it go. Let the guys have a night off and just don't think anything more about it. I will say I actually went to the Hawks game on Monday night, and like before the game, after the national anthem, they hand the microphone to John Collins, and like the whole stadium's packed. Everyone's like, what is he about to say? Is he retiring? Like what could this be? And then he just goes and gives like a 30-second speech about why you should vote. And it just like felt so forced. I don't get as upset about things as you do, but it still felt very out of place. However, I will say that was stones by John Collins. It's one thing to throw down dunks in front of a packed arena. It's an entirely different thing to do a public speaking engagement in front of that many people on a topic he probably is lukewarm about. So
if I'm the Hawks and that 30 seconds speech didn't play well, My spin zone would be that I get John Collins to speak before every upcoming Hawks game about some topic.
Well, I mean, the Hawks did embarrass the Bucks that night, so maybe it's just like a PSA every night from John Collins.
And that's like how you stay warm on that is all right, thank you for listening to our national anthem. Here's John Collins on Arbor Day. It's like all right, we really need a win tonight against the Spurs. So go out there, plant trees, I guess. I've been John Collins, you've been great. You keep it going. Just make sure, like, hey, so how's John Collins been playing this year? It's like he's been spending way too much time coming up with his 30-second pregame speeches and not enough time working on his lower post moves.
Yeah, there's a world in which this backfires in a major way. Like, what if he starts fleshing out bits and then like turns down basketball to do comedic, like stand-up comedy or comedic acting? Like, man, we gave him the platform. He excelled.
What's the deal with Burger King? You order French fries and there's an onion ring in there. Am I right, everyone? It's like
everyone should,
yeah, sure. You know, it's like the PR folks for the Hawks, like we shouldn't have given this much power to John Collins. I'll be honest, you know, and I wasn't following it because it doesn't matter with the voting because games are going on. Basically, the polls are closed, and you can vote early. You can vote earlier on in the day. So I don't know if it's a voting thing, and if it's just given a day off to the players. Is that more of what it is as opposed to the fans? Because I don't think it's like, oh, we don't want you distracted or go into this Sixers Hornets game. We want you there in front of the TV. It's just, I don't understand the purpose of it. It was just kind of sloppy execution that they were like, election day, no basketball. People were like, why? They're like, I don't know. I mean,
right.
if election day was on a Monday, I guarantee you Monday Night Football would still be going on. And I also guarantee you the ratings for the election show would be an all-time low because people are just dialed into Commanders Bears and don't give a shit.
Well, it was like all the tweets in the aftermath of the Queen dying where they stopped, you know, the golf tournament and suspended like Premier League matches. And everyone was like, if Toledo and Western Michigan were going to kick off, you know, the day of a leader of ours passing away, that game's still going forward.
Oh, without question. Yeah.
And it's still going to be in the top 5 of the Nielsen ratings for that night. Maybe not Toledo, but.
If I have to choose between Maction and like ABC News coverage of a United States leader passing away, I'm going to be dialed into Akron Buffalo. I'll tell you that. I'm not changing away from that. I don't know who it could be that would pass. Like, even if you take away leaders, like, I mean, Tom Hanks would bum me out. But even if it's just like Tom Hanks would pass, that would affect my night. But I wouldn't go to like the in memoriam thing on the news for Tom Hanks. Like, oh, he was in Forrest Gump. I'd just be like, I need another half yards from this ex receiver for Kent State, or else I'm not gonna be able to eat this week.
Tom Hanks passing does not feed my family.
I don't know. I do love the hubris of the NBA though, that they're just like, I know you want to pay attention to the voting in the future of this country, but we also know that you're going to be dialed in to Suns Mavericks and we can't have that. So we're going to let you off the hook and avoid temptation. And I'm sure Luka Doncic is also just dialed in to this governor's race in Texas. So just like, yeah, this is how I'm going to use my night off. I don't know. I think it's just like when Americans get Labor Day off, and it used to be a big thing because they were just like, we used to put kids in mills working heavy machinery. And like, that was a big deal getting Labor Day off. Now people, it's just like, you think I'm going to reflect on like labor in the United States? No, it's me watching football. It's enjoying one last day at the lake for the season. Like, we don't care about the reason for the season with Labor Day. And I guarantee you the vast majority of NBA players and coaches weren't just locked in to election coverage last night because they got the day off. No, they were taking that off, maybe going a quick little 24-hour trip to Cabo, come right back. I don't know.
So they left the country? That's a heavy allegation, Mike.
They went to South Padre Island for a quick 24 hours.
They should if there's a home game in Toronto, they should just let that one game happen.
Okay, this doesn't affect you, okay? Absolutely. What the fuck? It's just no. You're not a citizen here. I was at Michigan State last year. What are you talking about? I'm not a citizen. I'm on a visa for the Raptors. Oh well. Yeah, maybe I am just thinking too much into this, but
that's par for the course, though.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing. So big college football weekend last weekend. I want to get your state of the union on college football. Of course, your beloved Dogs just beat the shit out of Tennessee a lot worse than the score indicates of 27-13. Just Tennessee was unable to do anything on offense whatsoever. And we talked about this over the weekend where I have a friend from Ohio who was talking to me and said, I bet you're excited about Tennessee being good because I know how Georgia and Alabama fans are when they're good. So it must be nice to have someone new. To which I responded, you don't know. You weren't like Twitter wasn't around when the balls were good, and Tennessee isn't exactly making its way up to Cleveland in terms of, a huge amount of their fans. You don't realize what they're like. If you have to live through a Vols national title, it's not great.
They threw a mustard bottle on a football field because of like a minor inconvenience during a game.
That's not holding. Fuck you. Like that's not how people act.
We did watch the game at a sports book with a number of Tennessee fans. I felt like they were pretty tame. I guess they kind of had to be.
Because they were never in it. If they jumped
Yeah.
out 14-0, like Rocky Top would have been blaring. People would have been howling like coonhounds. Like it wouldn't have been great.
That's true. I do. My State of the Union, though, I think this year is setting up. I hope I'm wrong, but it just feels as though whoever gets in at 4 for sure, and maybe even the 3 seed, is just going to be a team that's like outside the top 10 in the talent rankings, like had a good year, but by a factor of just like other teams eliminating themselves, they kind of just fell in, and they're just the semifinal games are setting up to be just awful. Like, do you really think like TCU can stay on the field with Ohio State or Georgia? Like, I don't.
Maybe it's just something about purple that Ohio State goes, nope, not dealing with that. No, sir. And then the Horned Frogs run them out of the building.
Yeah, I guess my State of the Union for college football is Northwestern outgained Ohio State.
Yeah, for all the Ohio State fans started coming to Twitter saying just, Georgia struggled with a MAC team. Look at what we did to a MAC team. They were trying to split hairs like that. I don't think they want to do that now. That's our Vanderbilt for them is Northwestern. Yeah. And Georgia beat Vanderbilt 55-0. I think I personally love the sacrificial lamb 4 seed. That's one of my favorite annual traditions is just seeing, when the goat was fed to the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. I love to see the college football version of that where they're just like, here, Washington, enjoy Alabama. Here, Michigan State, good luck with the Crimson Tide. Like that's one of my favorite times of the year. And you're right. We're going to get someone hideous because they're not going to put both Ohio State and Michigan in there.
No.
I think we may get a second SEC team, but they'll probably get to 3. The ACC's out, even if we are sleeping on North Carolina. TCU. I hate playing the disrespect card, but TCU a couple years ago when it was both they and Baylor were 13-1, and we're like, who's going to get in out of the two of them? And college football playoff was like, psych, fucking neither of them. Your win over Minnesota earlier this year means nothing to us, Horned Frogs.
Yeah.
Well, TCU beat like 4 ranked teams in a row and are undefeated, and they're just like, hey, can we get some respect? They're like, yeah, go to hell. Like
They had like I forget who they play. Iowa State maybe, and they had like a win where they controlled the game the whole time, maybe covered, and then they dropped in the rankings.
Yeah.
Not good enough.
And Vegas isn't giving it to him either. Vegas has them as 7-point dogs against the Longhorns this weekend. If you're TCU fans and you were clamoring for respect all season long, and then you lose, I guarantee you they'll give you a Clemson punishment where they, like last year when Clemson was, was just messing around and the polls were like, we don't respect you, Clemson. And then Clemson finally lost. They're like, okay, now's our chance to dump the shit out of you. TCU could lose by a field goal to Texas this weekend, and they'll be 15 next Tuesday.
Well, we'll talk about our picks later, but I stayed away from that game because like Texas has been super efficient all year, but they've almost kind of like manufactured different ways to lose 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
But when Quinn, think about how Quinn Ewers, like how comfortable he was against Alabama. I could see Texas like just destroying them, or Texas again being super efficient, being who they are, and just like finding a way to blow a 2-touchdown lead.
Yeah.
Which TCU has like the personnel to do that. But yeah.
I mean, it's going to be either undefeated TCU. It's going to be Michigan or Ohio State. 2 Big Ten teams are not getting in unless it's just utter chaos. So it'll be the winner of that game. It'll be Georgia. And then it'll be like TCU if they win out. If they don't, the playoff committee will tell the Big 12 to just get fucked. It's going to be no one from the ACC. Right now we have 3 Pac-12 teams, each with 1 loss. I think that's our leading candidate for sacrificial lamb this year.
Yeah, a UCLA at the 4 seed loses by 50.
Yeah. Imagine if Oregon goes 12-1 and then they put them at the 4 seed against Georgia and should maybe do the 3? Like, is there anything we can do? Like, how much do you love Nike apparel? We can get you so many dry fits if you'll just make us 3, please. But no, that is a leading candidate. Is a Lincoln Riley team. Oh, does he love being that goat for the T-Rex? Oh, he loves it. Or it's UCLA and Chip Kelly in, I don't know, a bit of a facade of a 1-loss team. Or it's going to be the Ducks, who already lost by 800 to Georgia earlier this year. And then we're going to have, I don't know, Ohio State or Michigan versus Tennessee in the 2-3.
Oh, what a year.
I'll tell you what, if I'm the host, if I live in the host city of the 2-3 game and it's Ohio State and Tennessee coming to town, I'm essentially that GIF of Homer Simpson's dad where he just grabs the hat, grabs the coat, and walks out the door. That's me getting as far away from my house as possible for a week. I'm not doing it.
This is why we need a 12-team playoff, though. So we can at least have some entertainment before like this disgusting Final Four.
Yeah, I do love the idea of a 12-team playoff where it's just like, congratulations, Tulane, you're going to Ann Arbor. That's the luck.
But that would be a wild game to watch. And so like Tulane would just sell out. Every third play would be a trick play.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like that. I don't know. I love seeing all these hypothetical 12 teams where Big Ten people love to say, oh, really? Ole Miss coming up to Columbus, Ohio in December. Best of luck. I mean, I don't know if that's the case. We see that in the NFL when teams go down to Miami that they're like, oh, Jesus. It's 65 in September in Buffalo, and it's 98 here. Yeah, we're not doing tremendous with this. And we don't terribly send SEC teams to the snow. It would be really fucked up to like watch Alabama play in the snow. Like that just seems like an NCAA simulation. I think that's the thing that would trip me out the most about a 12-team playoff with like on-site first round.
Yeah. But I would enjoy that. Like, I want to see Nick Saban like don a beanie and have to gut out like a quarterfinals game.
I know he's fired now, but seeing Ed Orgeron bundled up like the kid from It's a Wonderful Life with just like a big scar. Oh, it's over there cold on here. I can't take Happy Valley. More like fucking miserable Coach O Valley, I'll tell you that.
He would pull like a Hugh Freeze and coach from the box and be like, "Are you hurt?" Just no. I don't want to be.
Very chilly. Thumbs up, guys. You're doing great, Tigers. All right. Before we get any further, let's get into our Gambling Dan's picks. Of course, we did not have picks last week, and we'll get to that later on in the show. Doc is 22 and 25 for the year, 47%. Oh, I'm sorry, he's 23 and 25. I forgot to mark a Monday Night Football win for him. So he's getting close to that 50%. I'm 27, 20 and 1, 58% winning percentage. Ben is 19 and 16, 54% winning percentage. And we are both above 500 in terms of whammies. We went 0 units each, went 2 and 3, but both hit our whammies 2 weeks ago. So we'll get to it. Do you want to lead the way or you want me to get started?
No, I'll lead the way. I'm going to start in the SEC, kind of piggybacking on some of the stuff. You mentioned Ole Miss. That's really all I'm piggybacking on. It's just a bare mention. But I liked – obviously Alabama coming off a loss is like a whole nother animal. But I really like Ole Miss to keep a game close just because they're going to eat clock, run the ball and at least like kind of control the tempo of the game. So give me Ole Miss plus 11.5. It's also like a big-ish number, and it's in Oxford where, things can happen. And then Liberty just really didn't surprise me this weekend because I halfway expected that. But, I mean, like Hugh Freeze is in a month-long audition for the Auburn job, and he's going to show out. So give me Liberty minus 13.5 as well.
He made some horrible comment after that Arkansas game when he was asked about other jobs, and he said, I don't know, we're winning a lot, and I turned programs around quickly. And I was like, oh, if that's got to be the worst thing you could hear as a Liberty fan. Usually it's just, we're just trying to focus better business. I don't even think about that. But he was just like, I would do great. Hire me. But that's par for the course. I'm going to start us off with a couple of unders in the SEC. Give me Vanderbilt and Kentucky under 48.5. No one in the entire country, not one, no one in the entire country hits unders better than the Kentucky Wildcats. 8 of their 9 games this year has gone under the total. And for Vanderbilt, unders have hit in 3 out of 4 Vanderbilt away games this year. 5 out of the 6 Kentucky SEC games this year has gone under that 48.5 number. Only 1 went above, and that was 50-point total against Tennessee. Vanderbilt has been held to 3 points or less in 2 SEC games this year, so I don't exactly love their offense, hammering a pretty good Wildcat defense. 4 out of the last 5 Kentucky-Vanderbilt games in Lexington has gone under this number. So I love under 48.5 in Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and I won't watch a minute of it. Next one, give me Georgia, Mississippi State under 53.5. Georgia just played a very emotional, get everything up kind of game against Tennessee, and then a week later has to go on the road to a bunch of cowbells. I don't think they're going to play terrific in the first half. I'm not saying whether they're going to be up or down or tied or what have you. I just don't think Georgia's going to be very sharp in that first half. Of course, they'll put it away in the second half. Their meeting between the two Bulldogs in 2020 went above this total by 1.5 points. The previous 6 meetings between the two went under 53.5 points. The under has hit in Georgia games 7 out of 9 times this year. As a home dog under Mike Leach, the under has hit 5 out of 6 times since he took over in 2020 when he's a home underdog. Against ranked teams this year, State's totals have been 47, 44, and 36. This isn't the high-powered Leach offense we expect. I don't think we're going to see that against Georgia either. But Mississippi State, surprisingly enough, pretty good defense. Their defensive coordinator's had his name thrown around for a couple different jobs. I think that this is going to be just a pretty gut-wrenching game. Maybe like a 31-14 kind of game for Georgia, but I see under 53.5 in this one.
I like it. I like that. I like that pick a lot. I would have copied you, but for sake of diversity, I'm not. I'm going to do an over-under as well. You at the sportsbook last weekend took Oregon minus 19.5 in the first half against Colorado. And first half. And I thought that was just a absolutely sicko's move. But it tipped me off to a line this week that, Colorado is going to give up a lot of points. Lincoln Riley likes to score a lot of points. Colorado is not really rolled over for the season, even though they honestly probably should. I think USC though alone could put up 50 something. So give me the over on that 64.5. Tennessee is going to be out for revenge against Mizzou, but I think Mizzou is a lot better than people think. And that's not just because I'm a Georgia fan and, trying to highlight why we had the struggles we did in that game. But again, Tennessee's played, to your point about Georgia, they've played a lot of really big games in a row, and they've just got to be spent. So I like them to beat Mizzou, but in that 2 touchdown, 14, kind of 17, 20 point range. So give me Mizzou plus 20.5.
Missouri's had one of the weirdest years. 2 SEC teams have had really strange years, one of which is Alabama, who has 2 losses, and you could say one play flipped both Tennessee and LSU that could have gone the other way. But also, they were this close. The 2-yard line against Texas A&M with a chance to win as time was expiring. And then they won by 1 against Texas. They were in a dogfight with Arkansas in the fourth quarter until they finally pulled away. That Alabama could be a 4-loss team. And then on the flip side, Missouri was beating Georgia up and down the field in Columbia before losing that game by, I believe, 6.
Yeah.
And they fumbled with no one touching them to win at the 1-yard line to win the game against Auburn. And then we saw the Kentucky game last week. Missouri has a chance, if things had gone their way, that we're talking about, is Eli Drinkwitz going to get a bigger job? Is Mizzou at 11th in the polls right now if a couple plays go a different way? So I like that too. I think Mizzou is weirdly enough better than people give him credit for. For my 2, I always tell this to our beloved Doc, of avoid betting on your teams, because he loves to bet on the Vikings. He loves to bet on the Cyclones. And I'm going to buck my own advice and bet on both my teams right here. The Miami Dolphins minus 3.5 against the Cleveland Browns. Since 2016, no team is better as a home favorite against the spread than the Miami Dolphins. They're 11-6-2 as home favorites in that time. Tua is clicking. Tyreek Hill is absolutely insane. This is their last game before a bye. Tyreek Hill had 197 yards against the Browns last year. I don't think they're going to slow him down at all again. And Miami, again, they can stop the run. So they're going to sell out for Nick Chubb. And they had some really good run fits against the Bears last week as well to stop Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. And so I think the Browns are going to have to throw the ball, especially with how well the Dolphins are throwing it. Browns have a middle-of-the-road, I believe, 15th best passing defense in the NFL. So I think Jacoby Brissett is going to be dared to keep up with the Dolphins. So I think they have a chance to go way above this number, maybe a 10-point win. But I really like Dolphins minus 3.5. Next one, I'm going with Ole Miss plus 11.5, just like you. I like that line a lot. Ole Miss has won 14 straight home games straight up, and they returned home for the first time in a month. They had a bye week last week where they could get healthy and prepare for Alabama. They were running on fumes in terms of a lot of injuries, especially on defense, not a lot of rotations. Some of that won't be fixed in time for Alabama, but a lot of it will be. And giving Lane Kiffin 2 weeks to game plan. You always like that. Against that historic 2020 Alabama team in Kiffin's first year, Ole Miss was the only real team to give them a run, and that was a game in Oxford where they hung up 48 points on that really, really good defense. As I just mentioned a second ago, Alabama has been really weird on the road this year. They're 2-2 straight up. They're 500 on the road this year straight up. They lost their last 2 to LSU and Tennessee. They beat Texas by 1, and that Arkansas game was just a dogfight in the fourth quarter with a couple plays flipping that around. They're 1-3 against the spread on the road this year, missing that mark by 10 plus. I do not think Ole Miss will win this game, but saying that Alabama will beat them by more than a touchdown and a field goal and a couple extra points, I'm not with that. Give me Ole Miss plus 11.5 here. That's too many points.
Obviously I like it because I followed it, but you know who might have the highest performing freshman class in the SEC?
Who?
It's LSU.
Oh, okay.
Mason Taylor, Harold Perkins. There's two others I'm forgetting, but
Harold
this
Perkins
is
horrifying. That's a must.
Yeah, he might be one of the best defensive players in the country.
Yeah,
and the thing about Harold Perkins is he's going to alone take away a lot of what Arkansas wants to do offensively. So he by himself is going to make just regardless of what Brian Kelly does, he is going to force Arkansas to kind of play a game plan, get outside of their comfort zone, which I think we've seen enough to know this year that they're just not good at doing that. If you let Arkansas play their style of game, they can keep games close and be in it late. But I just think, that LSU defense is going to take away a lot of what Arkansas wants to do. And Jaden Daniels, maybe I get egg on my face Saturday, but he has turned a corner. This is a totally different team than the one you saw, lose to Florida, or quarterback too, than the one that lost to Florida State, or the one that had just an absolute rock fight of a game against Auburn. So I think he's going to continue to show out. So my whammy this week is LSU -3.
I don't know if LSU beats Ole Miss, even though when you look at that score at the end of 42-20 or whatever it was, I don't know if they win that game without Perkins. Once they let him loose, that entire game changed. And same thing gets Alabama. I don't think they beat Alabama without Perkins. That was a crazy recruitment with Texas A&M and Florida and all that. And LSU is pretty happy that they came out on top with that one.
He does so much. He does so much that it's just fun to watch.
And this line is so weird to me because LSU, like you said, I think they've turned a corner, and maybe they're just going for the letdown game, going on the road, playing a noon game in Fayetteville. Arkansas just lost to Liberty. They can't terribly play the pass well. They can't get pressure with four linemen, and KJ Jefferson is hurt. So I guess they think this is gonna be a Rocket Sanders, 200-yard game. That's really the only way they can win this and get some turnovers. I don't understand this line, so I like where you're coming from here. For my whammy, listen, I'm sorry, this is super obvious, but give me the Raiders -6 against the Colts.
You're not a Jeff Saturday believer?
This is the most low-hanging fruit. This isn't going to be some win one for the Gipper Jeff Saturday special.
He just got here.
The line
you don't know him.
Yeah, it wasn't like he was in the building and everyone's like, I'm glad Jeff's getting his shot. Like he served as an analyst from afar and was on ESPN. And then it came out like a couple hours after that. They're like, oh shit, we have no one on staff who's ever called plays before. Let's get this assistant quarterbacks coach up to come call plays. They're a horrible offense to begin with. This is going to be a shit show. It opened up at 2.5 and it's already at 6. It should be 48. This is going to be an absolute disaster. You have Jeff Saturday in his first game as a head coach since he was at Hebron Christian
Well,
School.
I was going to say, first game as a head coach in the NFL. He's got some experience.
It's a Christian league. And you have a guy who can't call plays for a bad football team. Like, they're bad. And you don't know if Jonathan Taylor's going to play. If he is, he's banged up. They traded Naheem Himes. They got Zach Moss, who's awful. So we'll just call it what it is. The Colts are 0-9 against the spread in first halves this year. 0-9 against the spread. So they're a bad first half team. And you know who's really good at jumping out to big leads? The Raiders. Before this year, they had blown 5 17-point leads in the history of the franchise. This year, they've blown 3. That's a little bit collapsing. That's a little bit bad luck. But I think the Raiders are going to jump all over them. You're going to get a steady dose of Josh Jacobs. Indianapolis is 1-4 against the spread on the road this year. That's the second worst in football. They're missing the mark by 10 plus. Raiders -6. Bet the house. Clean up.
I don't like it. I love it.
That's all I need. Well, thanks as always for listening this week. Before we go, we want to say the reason that Doc is not with us, our beloved Doc, lost his father, which has rocked him, has rocked us. Papa Jacobson, tremendous guy, always incredibly kind-hearted, always trying to help people, always trying to give to people. Just a really great guy, and so he'll be missed by all of us. And if you could keep our guy Doc in your prayers, Doc takes after his father, as good of a person as it gets, and we'll be excited to have him back when he gets home and can be around him again. And definitely our thoughts are with him and the family. And so if you're listening at home, you love what Doc brings to the show, how could you not? Keep our guy. All right. That's going to do it for us. Again, thanks as always for listening. We'll see you next week.